Hey everybody, this is a follow-up video to my initial video entitled Living Stealth in a Self-Storage Unit Not. Now that video has received a lot of traffic, almost 3,000 hits. Thank you everybody. I only have 85 subscribers and the only other social media site I have is Instagram. So to get 3,000 hits like that on one of my videos is awesome. I haven't had a response like that to any of my videos before, so it was great. But it's also generated a lot of questions, and most of the questions are in the comment section of that video. You might want to go take a look. I'll leave a link below to that video. You might want to go take a look, because depending on what side of the issue you're on, there are some pretty funny responses and comments at the bottom of that video. Everything from body shaming to calling me names to trying to make me feel as if being a janitor was a bad thing. You got to go see it. It's hilarious. And you have to see my responses to it too. It's funny. So anyway, this is a follow-up to that only because there's a gentleman who had so many questions for me that he didn't want to leave them in the comment section. So he emailed me his questions, and I'd like to answer those questions because some of you might have the same questions as well. I think I've dealt with some of these issues in the video itself and in the comment section below that video, but we'll take a look at these questions. Now, there are quite a few questions, and some of my answers may get a little involved. But I'm going to try to promise to you right now that this video won't be that long, because if it does end up being that long, then I'll divide it into two separate videos, so you don't have to hang on for a full half hour. The first question is, how long do you think people live in a storage unit before they get lazy and leave signs that you noticed they were living there? That depends on two things. The first thing it depends on is the type of person who's living in that unit. Now, if that person's inexperienced or lazy, then they're probably going to be leaving a lot of signs. The signs that a person leaves is in the other video that I made. You have to go look at that video. But the less experienced a person is in trying to live stealth or trying to live on their own like that, the more likely they are to slip up. The more red flags will pop up, and the more the staff will become aggroed. And by aggro, it's a video game term, and I'm sure a lot of you out there know what that means, but I'll explain it in a minute. Then you have the other group of individuals who have been homeless before, and they're more experienced in covering their tracks. Unfortunately, a lot of the people who are living in their units, and I'm going to get flack over this, but I'm sorry. It's my personal experience being homeless myself, and it's my personal experience working on the other side of the line where I'm coming from an employee point of view, where I'm trying to prevent people from living in their units. But a lot of people, I would say the majority of people that I have dealt with that live in their units, are the type of people who have learned to lie, cheat, and steal their way to get what they need. Now, I'm not judging that person. I'm just stating the facts. There are people who are in a desperate situation who will lie, cheat, and steal to get what they need. And I'm not really talking about those type of people, even though I consider those actions wrong no matter what the reasoning behind it is. I'm talking about the people who use and abuse the system, who have used up all their resources and now have to live in a self-storage unit because they've got no place else to go. So they're more likely to cover their tracks because they're more likely not to have an alternative place to stay because they basically burned all their bridges. Then it all depends on how observant staff is. Now, if you're renting at a center where the staff is very diligent, they keep their eyes open, they report everything that they see, you're less likely to get away with anything. You're more likely to get caught. On the other hand, if you're staying at a storage facility where their main concern is showing up for their job, putting their hours in, getting a paycheck, and going home, then you're more likely not to be discovered as quickly because they're not looking for signs, and if they are, they're going to ignore them because it's like, the old attitude, minimum wage, minimum work, that type of thing. So I have no respect for people who have that kind of attitude, but that's a whole nother video. Um, so it all depends on the person who's occupying the unit and on the person who's running the company. So that's just the way it is. The second question is, were you ever lenient with anyone as a custodian and maybe warn them not to sleep there and you wouldn't tell the manager or owner? Okay, there are two issues here. Being lenient with a customer and reporting the conversation to the owner or in my circumstance, the general manager. Okay, so right from the get-go, when they're renting a unit, they're told from the very beginning, you cannot live in your unit. So they've already received that first warning. It's in their contract, so you can consider that a second warning. So when it gets to the point where I suspect somebody's living in their unit, if I see them, I'll be lenient by telling them and warning them, if we catch anybody living in their unit, there's a good possibility they'll be evicted. I just want to let you know that. I'm not saying you're living in your unit. I just want to let you know that. So right now, their antenna should be up, and they should realize that we're aware that something's going on. So that's the way I'm lenient with people who are living in their unit. It's not my job to be a social worker. It's not. I don't mind helping people out. In my personal life, I help people out a lot. When I'm at work, there's a fine line there between my personal life and my business life, and I have to be careful not to cross that. It's for my own safety as well. So, whether or not I would tell my general manager, of course I would tell my general manager. Why would I keep that a secret? It makes no sense. For one, I'm a very honest person. And I wouldn't keep something like that a secret and make some kind of secret backroom deal with a customer. Hey, don't live in your unit, and I'm telling you this, but I won't tell anything. I won't report it to my general manager. What is that? That's just like making deals behind the scene, like making deals in the dark. That's ridiculous. No. Of course I'm going to tell my general manager. My general manager needs to be aware that there's a potential problem in the building. Because we're not just talking about somebody living in their unit. We're talking about other customers being inconvenienced by it. We're talking about fire hazards. We're talking about biohazards, and I'll get into that later. We're talking about a whole host of things that can happen when you have somebody living in a unit. We can also get in trouble if the state or the city of it came in, found people living in units, and were fined or closed down because we were allowing it to happen. But it's a whole other thing. It doesn't even address this question, but that's the answer to this question. I would talk to the customer. I would put it in the customer notes, and then I would also tell my general manager, because if I'm not there, my general manager or other employees need to keep an eye on the situation. The third question is, if people had friends over, how big of groups would they have? Just one or two friends, or would people throw a larger party? Well, I've never seen a large crowd there unless somebody was helping the person renting the unit load or unload their items. Usually somebody comes with 1, 2, 3 other individuals. They come, they get what they need, they leave. Or they come, they sort through their stuff, or they bring or take away things. It's just the normal day-to-day thing. I have never ever seen a party at the facility. There are other venues and other places for them to have their parties. If they were to try to have a party there, no, it wouldn't be allowed. It wouldn't be allowed. It's a storage facility. It's not a venue for parties. Um, let's see. Do you know of other? Oh, there was another thing I wanted to hit too. There are people who hang out at their units and would have people come during the day, visitors come during the day, and that's a concern for us too because I live in an apartment building. I live in a tenement in the city, and I've lived in other tenements in the city. And when you start getting traffic in and out of the building, you know there's probably some drug use going on in the building. There's probably some drug dealing going on in the building. It's happened in most of the buildings I've lived in, and the issue comes and goes because the tenants come and go. And so I know the signs. So when I see those same signs at a storage facility, I think in my head, yeah, there could be drug dealing going on. They're hanging at their unit and they're constantly getting visitors. So in that case, I would constantly walk by the unit or find some reason to work in that area of the building so that they knew that somebody was there keeping an eye on them. And that kind of activity generally went away when that happened. Do you know of any other storage units? I'm assuming they mean storage companies that don't properly monitor their facilities. I have no knowledge of what other storage facilities do to secure and monitor uh, their facility. I can only speak about the facilities that I worked at. I feel that constant monitoring of the facility through electronic means is important, but I think the first line of defense is to have somebody out on the floor constantly. Did people ever fight or resist when they were evicted? To my knowledge, no one has ever done that in the two centers that I worked at. Usually they're caught red-handed, so they can't even fight it. Those who aren't caught red-handed, but there are enough signs. They don't fight it. They admit that they are living in the unit, and then the general manager makes a determination from there whether or not to evict them. Did you ever find people drunk, high, or passed out around your facility? Drunk, no, but I have found beer cans everywhere. Passed out, no. Although a woman did pass out in our parking lot one time, an older woman, but I think it was heat exhaustion. High, yes. There was a customer that I found in her unit tweaking. I mean, she was tweaking. She wasn't behaving like normal, and you could tell she was on something. And she had blood on her leg she was trying to clean up. She had blood on her ear that she was trying to clean off. I asked her if she needed any assistance, whether she needed any bandages or anything like that. She said no and kind of brushed me off, so I was like, fine. I mean, I walk by that unit every once in a while, but she didn't want my help, so that was it. But yeah, she was tweaking. But there are also other issues that happen besides just drinking, getting high, and passing out. There was a woman who actually, it was the same woman who was tweaking out. She had propositioned a customer for sex. She told him she wanted to make her boyfriend jealous. He had a unit right down from hers, and so she propositioned him for sex. So of course he turned around, complained to management. We didn't confront her about that. As far as I know, nobody did. But I myself personally put a note in the system that had happened, because the note about her tweaking went in there, and having blood on her was in there, and the note about the sexual thing went in there as well. Then there was a woman in the bathroom with a gentleman. I heard their voices, and then all of a sudden it got very quiet. So I knocked on the door. They responded. I told them they needed to come out. It took a while before they came out. So I don't know what was going on in there because it was completely silent. So were they doing drugs? I don't know. Were they having sex? I don't know. And if they were having sex, was it paid sex? Was there prostitution going on? I don't know. So yeah, stuff like that happens. I have found 2 syringes, one in the hallway and one in the trash bin in the customer restroom. Were they syringes because somebody has diabetes? Well, I don't think they'd leave that on the floor in the hallway. So I'm thinking it could be drugs. I mean, you have to think. It's good to give people the benefit of the doubt, but you have to also think that this could be something worse. So yes, drug use, drinking, soliciting for sex, possible sex prostitution. Yes, it happens. Yes, I've experienced it. How much time did you spend cleaning and in the facilities on a shift? Was there much to do? Was it often slow? Well, slow as far as work is concerned, no. Slow as far as customers coming and going. Once a customer puts their stuff in storage, they don't often come to visit their storage unit. So in a way, I could say, yeah, it's slow in that aspect. But as far as me doing my work, as a custodian, you always have things to do. And I was more than just a custodian. I had more responsibilities than just cleaning or being a janitor or being a housekeeper. My responsibilities included, and I wrote this down, groundskeeping, updating the 2 outside reader boards, pumping propane, selling items to customers in the showroom, doing truck runs, facility safety checks, answering customer questions, and responding to customer complaints and concerns. If I found a unit that wasn't locked properly, I had to not only make notes in the system about it, but I also had to call the customer and ask them to, I alerted them to the issue and then asked them to come down and take care of the situation as quickly as possible. So I had a lot of different responsibilities at that center other than just being a janitor, even though, you know, my title was storage facility housekeeper / custodian. There was more to it than just cleaning, and a lot of people didn't know that. Even a lot of employees in the company didn't know that. They just look at the janitor as this low-level, uneducated person, and that's the total opposite of who I am. The only thing I couldn't do at the center is handle cash and rent equipment. That's it. Everything else I could do. That's why when a person left a derogatory comment on that YouTube video, my initial YouTube video, and said and called me janitor, like it was an embarrassment to work for such a position. She has no idea the services I provided for the customers on a daily basis. That went above and beyond just being a janitor. This is almost 20 minutes long, so I'm not going to get into the next question because it's a little bit more detailed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end it here. I thank you for watching it all the way through, if you've made it all the way through. And if you have any comments, please leave them below. I answer all my comments. I'm not such a big channel that I can't answer my comments. So, and either way, good or bad, I'll answer them. Please give me a thumbs up and a like if you can. And please consider subscribing to my channel. I have an eclectic assortment of videos. They range from everything from things like this to unboxing videos to, Christian videos. It's a whole gambit of subjects that I deal with. So I thank you very much, and I'll see you for part 2.